Right, what's happening now? Don't know how many of you can hear me or see me. Apparently I'm cut back a minute early. Let's just change the angle of that slightly. Well, that big silver thing you see behind me, you may be asking yourself what that is. Well, all will be revealed. It's connected to dreaming sources. All will be revealed in the next week or so on Panwo TV. Right, let's just check what I've got here. Hopefully, but let me check it's live. Oh, it is live. And 4 people are watching already. Let's have a look at the Spurg chat. Hi, John. How are you? John Barry's there. Can you hear me all right? Microphone working? Now, just let me know if you can hear me. Okay, thanks. Brilliant. You can hear my voice. That's fantastic. Brilliant. Thanks, John. Okay, so I'm here to talk about the royal wedding, which I don't know how many of you saw it. I did. Yeah, I did. Thanks, John. Let's see what I'm about on time now. Sorry, it's a little bit early. So, yeah. Pain and Death of the New World Order. Hi, Pain and Death. How are you? Great name. I was just saying to John, a lot of you are going to be asking, what's that thing over my shoulder there? Over there behind me. That silver thing. There's a story behind that, which you will soon find out about, probably in the next week on Panmo TV. Hi, Safety Man. How are you? Right, well, the royal wedding. Okay, so why am I covering? Why do I care? I mean, I've been on social media. Everyone has been saying, "Oh my goodness me, what's up? Why, Ben? Why you?" The general feeling on social media seems to be quite negative. I mean, I don't know many royalists, I guess. And since I'm not a royalist myself, it's probably not going to be among many people who will be sort of like going into ecstasy over the issue. However, I did get carried up in. I did get loved up over it. I did. I must admit. I'll tell you a bit more in a minute. But the reason I'm covering this is because, as I've explained in previous videos, I have tackled the royal wedding before in previous videos. There are many issues associated with the royal wedding, which I think are Panwo-esque and need to be addressed. And first, I'm glad to say that old Liberace upstairs is quiet today. And if you remember my last video, the UFOs and Dave Cullen video, he was banging away up there on his keyboard. I've asked him actually to use earphones when he's playing, but he still doesn't, and it's a bit annoying, I guess. Okay, but I mean, one of the reasons I got involved in the royal wedding is because I'm an ex-hospital porter, and one thing you learn, right, when you join the hospital portering service, is that it is your absolute duty to exploit any excuse for a piss up. It's absolute. Alcohol is a large part of hospital portering culture. It's almost like it's a profession of Irishmen. It's almost like that, and that hasn't worn off. Indeed, I have here. I've only drunk a little bit of it, actually. I don't know if I'll drink any more today, but I did drink a bottle of sherry earlier. But I'm perfectly sober. I'm not as think as you drunk I am. I'm not under the affluence of alcohol. But anyway, I mean, what happened in the FA Cup final? But I mean, I fell asleep. What happened in the FA Cup final? Hang on, let's just have a look. Chelsea Man United. What happened? Chelsea won. 1-0. All right, 1-0 to Chelsea. Right. I slept through it. That's another thing I didn't honour in the hospital portering tradition is I didn't stay out and watch the football. I actually fell asleep about 3:30, and I didn't wake up till about 7:30. I set my alarm for 5:30. But anyway, this was a different kind of wedding. Very different kind of wedding. There are many issues associated with this wedding. I mean, one thing is like that. There's the feminism angle and the modernization of royalty, which is a very interesting. It's a very interesting position. I mean, and Meghan's father was not there. I mean, that is highly unusual. I mean, I understand he had some kind of health problem, but he wasn't there. There was a big news story about Thomas Markle about whether he's going to turn up or not. I mean, it's very unusual for a father of the bride not to be at his daughter's wedding. I mean, if it was Louisa, I'd cross heaven and earth to be there to give her away at the altar. But there's always been this feminist angle with Meghan. I mean, even when she was a little kid, she complained about some advert on TV for washing powder and things like that. I'll go into that later. But her mother was there. Now, her mother actually didn't walk her up the aisle though. She walked herself up the aisle with her page boys. Very modern, that. And it's interesting. It's interesting that there is an image issue associated with the royals. I mean, as I've said before, I said, if you remember my film, I did a video on Meghan Markle and Harry and the royal wedding, and I think it does seem very clear that Harry and Meghan are genuinely in love, which is a happy bonus for him and for her, and I'm very pleased. But the royal family don't get married because they fall in love; they get married to who they're told to. This has always been the way. It's not even a secret. I mean, people were actually shocked when Diana came out and explained how her marriage to Charles was an arranged marriage, how Charles was shagging Camilla the night before. Charles was always in love with Camilla. She never loved Charles. She was told to marry him. And probably the arrangement for Diana to marry into the Habsburgs, into the Windsor bloodline, was probably arranged even before she was born. Oh, by the way, can I tell a very politically incorrect joke about the royal wedding? All right, I'll tell a very politically incorrect joke. I've just got to say hello to everyone in the chat box. There's more people have turned up. Rab CM, hello, and Craig MK3, hello. Stuart Morris, DJ B2, Gary PR, Richard Kisnet, and Paul W, hello. And who else is there? Neptune says Laurel or Yanni. Oh, it's Yanni, I think. Yeah. I don't know. That's that thing to do with the. Do you remember it was created? I think to do with the dress. What color is this dress? You know. I mean, I'm definitely. It sounds like yelly to me. But anyway, we got also Christ on MTB. Hello, Richard Kinzit. Hello. We got Gary PR, Julian Carver, and Neptune Return. Hi, Neptune Return. Samurai and Simon Tucker. Yep. And so welcome all of you. Anyway, I've got a very politically incorrect joke to tell you. All right, I'll probably go to hell for this. I'll probably get a strike on my account for this, right? All right, it's a very. Are you ready for a very? If you're easily offended, if you're a highly triggered snowflake, all right, put your fingers in your ears for the next 30 seconds. Okay, right. Okay, I'm going to tell you a very un-PC royal wedding joke. A new trainee gardener at Windsor Castle is in trouble because he was caught breaking into Meghan Markle's bedchamber. He had no ill intentions. He just misunderstood when his boss told him to go and fetch the spade. Thunder roars. Bolts of lightning strike down on me. Oh my God. Someone's on Facebook wanted to log into chat. Okay. Oh, it's okay. Side of the player. Just post with your YouTube account. Post with your YouTube account. Hope that's so. There's some. Tina wants to join the chat box. Yeah. Someone. There's been some talk on. There's some talk on Facebook about the silver thing behind me. So Tina, did you get it? All right, Tina. All you have to do, Tina, if you're watching. Let me just post a link. Okay, I'll just post a link in the. Someone on Facebook wants to join. Someone I know, a friend of mine, a real person who I've actually met. Whereas the rest of you are just sort of ephemeral, pixels, aren't you? All you have to do if you want to join the chat, all right, is you automatically, if you are logged into your Google account, your Google YouTube account, it's very, very easy. All you have to do is just simply post like you would normal comments. Just normal comments on any other video. You could easily post in the Spurg chat just by doing that. Who else is it? Oh, Gary doesn't get it. I'm not going to explain. If I explain it, then I mean... Sorry, Gary. The rest are not royal either. They're royal scroungers. Harry looks like Charles, doesn't he? He looks like... Not go into that. I hope that explains it, Tina. All right, how you get in there. Oh, Terry Joyce is live. Oh, okay, I can't complete with Terry Joyce. Where am I? Hang on. Okay, so so there is this element of modernising the royals. I mean, it seems that they are very much aware of their situation. They're very aware of their public image. For example, in 1936, King Edward VIII abdicated to marry the American divorcee Wallis Simpson. It was a big scandal. And now we have an American divorcee married into the royal family. So times have changed. They are adjusting. There may be many reasons for that. But obviously, they are actually aware of their public image. And for example, they act strange sometimes. And for example, there was a lot of themes at this wedding related to American things. There were stars and stripes flying. Now, Princess Anne was wearing a kimono. I don't know if you noticed that. I thought it was very odd. Are you in there now, Tina? Are you in there? Hang on, I'm going to call Tina. So this is someone I know. I'm just seeing if she'll come, if she'll get in there. How she can get into the chat. Oh, she's seen it now. Okay. Right, I've got to say, Pi XO, hello Pi XO, UK TV at home, hello, and Chili, hello Chili, UK TV, hello Ben, me and the rest of the team at UK TV. I'm closely watching your channel and wonder if you'd be interested in having a TV show with us. Oh really, UK TV home? Yeah, of course. I mean, just email me. Okay, I'm gonna try and help. Okay, she says I'm logged into YouTube, but can usually join chats, but can't find the box to type in. Oh, it's at the side. Can't. At the side of the player. It's not Tina's fault. I don't know what's going on. She can't see the top box to type in. Can't you see the side of the player? It's just the bottom. It's the player is at the bottom. If you look at it says chat at the side. Okay, John Barry. Yes, I am from Wales. I'll say a bit more about that in a minute. Right, UK TV. I've got. Who are you? UK TV. Pi XL. Why do you say Paul is dead when he very clearly isn't dead? He is dead. Grow up. UFOs aren't real, and you're a shill. Oh, very original. Very original. No, that's strange. Okay, Tina. I don't know why you can't. I don't know why that is. Sorry, I don't know why you can't see the chat, the Spurg chat at the side. I don't know why you can't see the Spurg chat at the side of the player. I really don't. I'm sorry. I'm going to have to carry on. Sorry, I don't know why that is. I don't know if you can actually hear me. I don't know why that is. Sorry. I don't know why you can't. Why? Because normally when you go on a live stream, you automatically see... Oh, UK TV. Nice to meet you too, UK TV. All right. And I'm going to carry on. I'll answer your comments in a minute, but I'm going to carry on. All kinds of strange... Now, there's all kinds of strange things happened there. I mean, it did have an American theme, but there were all kinds of people there I didn't expect to see. For example, John Major was there, and I mean, I've forgotten he was alive. To tell you the truth, it's easy to forget that guy is alive, even when he was Prime Minister. He was so dull. I mean, he was so... now... David Beckham was there, and Posh, what's her name? Mrs. Posh, Victoria Beckham, she was there. George Clooney was there with this woman, his wife, because he now lives in England. He lives somewhere near there, actually. He lives somewhere in Berkshire. I don't know exactly where, but he lives in that sort of area. Now, Meghan's mother was there. Now, Meghan's mother, whose name is... I've forgotten her name. Hang on. Meghan Markle's mother, Doria Ragland. Yeah, Doria Ragland. She was there. That's an unusual name. She's a yoga instructor and social worker. Oh, right. Well, Doria Ragland. Born in 1956, American yoga instructor, social worker, and a mother of Meghan, Duchess of Sussex. Oh. And she was married to Thomas Markle from 1979 to 1988. During that period, Meghan was born. Oh, well, I mean, she was actually there. She was actually the person I probably warmed to the most. I felt there was something very genuine about her. She sat at the front in the choir, with the rest of the relatives, and she could see she was very clearly moved. She was like dabbing her eyes with a hanky, as I probably would if I was in that situation. I mean, it was a well put together service. It was very moving. There's lovely music, absolutely lovely music there. And Megan's mum, I really, really sort of fell in love with her. I really did. I thought she was very sweet. And it's interesting to compare. I mean, I don't really want to say much except compare Megan's mother and the expression on her face with that of the Queen and Prince Philip and their expression on their face. Just compare the two. And it says an awful lot about the difference between the royal family and humans, basically human beings, because I don't consider them human. There was an American gospel choir which was absolutely fantastic, and they played "Stand by Me," that lovely song, which is by I don't know, it was not by Percy Sledge, but it was actually covered. It was covered for that film. There was a guy called Percy Sledge who sung it. And there were several readings from. There's a reading from the Song of Solomon, which is one of the most interesting books in the Bible because it's very, very, it's very erotic. I mean, there's a lot of like erotic imagery in the Song of Solomon, where it's about love and sex and beauty and things like that. And it's very unusual for the Bible, actually. So, and then there was this American pastor whose now a star on Twitter. I can't remember his name now. I should look these things up. But he was really, really cool. He was really, really cool. And his speech has gone down in history. And Tino's still not in there. He's not in there. Hang on. I don't know. If you can't join the Spurg chat, I don't know why. I'm sorry. I really don't know why. Neptune Return says there's more trolls in chat. Well, that was to be expected, unfortunately. I'll get rid of them in a minute. All right, I'm just going to go through my notes and I'll get rid of the trolls. And there was this guy from the Orthodox Church. I don't know, Greek or Russian, I'm not sure, but he looked just like Rasputin. And I posted on Twitter. I said I thought Rasputin was dead. I've done a special radio show on Rasputin actually. Grigory Rasputin was an amazing chap. And I could do an entire show about him, an entire live stream about him. And then they had that American pastor who was so cool. He was such. I mean, honestly, if the Church of England would only adopt some of these things, just trying to find his name. He was head of the American Episcopalian Church. I'll just try and find out who he is, but he's really cool. He was this old black man. And was like a real Southern Baptist type person. Blah 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 blah. Here we are. Yeah, Mr. Markle, 73, reportedly he watched the ceremony from home. He did, and he said, "This is Thomas Markle, the father of the bride," and said, "My baby looks beautiful and looks very happy." Oh, it's right. But Doria Raglan, Mrs. Markle's mother, was there. In a pale green Oscar de la Renta dress, a neat hat, an emotional-looking Mrs. Raglan sat alone on the bride's side of the chapel for some time. Oh, yeah. Yeah, it was Michael Curry, that's his name, the Most Reverend Bishop Rifle Curry of the U.S. Episcopal Church. There was Right Reverend David Connor, the Dean of Windsor, conducted the service, and the Archbishop of Canterbury, the Most Reverend Justin Welby, officiated. All right, yeah. There's power in love, said Bishop Curry. He was cool. Yeah, I really liked him. He seemed really sincere. As I say, compare that again with the Queen and Prince Philip. And then they played Bread of Heaven. Bread of heaven, bread of heaven, feed me till I want no more. And I did sing along. I can't resist it. I mean, even at rugby matches and things like that, I sing along to that. And there was this lovely music. There was a chap playing a cello, a young black chap playing the cello, and he was really good. I'm not a fan of classical music, but this I really was. It was really beautiful. It was really great, fantastic performer. Well, the weather, of course, was perfect. I mean, did you see it? You know, perfect. It was 21 degrees, bright sunshine. Could have been better. And the news reports were saying, "Oh, we're so lucky. We're so lucky. It's always a gamble in May, but we had wonderful weather for the ceremony." And I said, and I thought, well, is it a gamble? I remember in the 2008 Olympics in Beijing, China, the Chinese premier, whatever his name is, president, he said he could guarantee good weather for the Beijing Olympics, which is interesting. And this was like about 6 months beforehand, and I thought that's a bit odd, because I looked up the climate for the Beijing area, and it's actually very similar to Western Europe. It's a four-season climate with changeable, just like with Britain. So it rains, it's sunny, it's hot, it's cold, it's wet, it's dry, etc. How can you guarantee 6 months before that you're going to get good weather? Because that's absolutely impossible in Britain. And that leads us on to the issue of geoengineering. Now, one thing I did notice over the last 2 days before the royal wedding was massive chemtrailing in southern England. Huge. There was a massive chemtrail attack, for example, on Friday. And literally, it was nice. It was warm. There was a lot of sunshine, but there was chemtrails everywhere, which means that it's quite likely that the good weather we've had today may very well not be just chance. Yeah. So anyway, now there seems to be the controversy over the whole issue to do with the royal wedding appears to be the usual sort of thing, it costs £40 million and things like that, and there's all kinds of things, and the homeless people moved on. Now, I mean, I must admit the moving of the homeless people was pretty awful. I mean, they actually moved. The police actually ousted several homeless people from their makeshift rough sleeping positions in Windsor, so that well-wishers for the royal wedding could camp out overnight to get a good place, which I think was out of order. But the problem is, I mean, this is the Republican situation. I mean, I watched a video by Kevin Logan, pip, that Birmingham, that guy from Birmingham. I watched the video. It was called "Fuck the Royal Wedding" or something, and he gives out the standard Republican arguments. The problem with that is, I think these people think all we have to do is have an elected head of state and everything will be fantastic. Just like in countries like France and the United States, where you can elect your head of state. I mean, are those countries paradises? Does the Illuminati have no control over those countries? Of course it does. This is a far deeper situation than that. Now, there was a lot of people are raving about the fact that Meghan is mixed race, and there's a mixed race person in the royal family now, and this is really very, very interesting, because it has disarmed a lot of the Republicans, and they're saying, "Oh, it's wonderful." I mean, all people who used to spit on the royal family, and now saying, "Aren't the royal family wonderful? They got a woman who's like half African American." They use the word African American. Oh, now Tina's just posted on Facebook. She can't get into the chat. I'm just gonna. It's also an excuse to get English people used to see armed police on the street. Good point, Tina. Yes. It's the whole. I don't know why she can't get in the chat. The whole obviously the whole situation with the whole situation with security and everything like that. They always take advantage of stuff like that. So there were armed police there, which I expected. But I mean, basically, what I'm saying is that everyone's, people who normally wouldn't give the royal family the time of day are now saying, "Oh, aren't they wonderful? They've got a woman who's half African American." Or I don't. That's the words they use. I don't say African American. That's African American is a completely artificial piece of politically correct jargon. I just say black. But anyway, they're saying, "Oh, I do hope that the children look black." I mean, the thing about it is the children are likely to look. If Harry and Meghan have children, the chances are they will look either more white or more black than Meghan, because of Mendelian genetics. Like, you know, it's. I've seen this with people I know actually who are mixed race. You will, and you see the same with Sargon of Akkad, for example. Sargon of Akkad is white, yet he is what he describes as a quadroon, which means one of his grandparents, his grandfather, one of his grandfathers, comes from Saint Helena and is a black person. He's a black man, so he is quarter African, not African American, but he's a quarter black. Yet he doesn't look the tiniest bit black. That's to do with it's Mendelian genetics. It's things like that. I also Tina says she doesn't look black at all. I thought she didn't actually. I think they've done they probably put some. She used to. I mean, normally she looks kind of dark skinned. You can see she's mixed race, but they've made her look much paler. She looks much paler, as if she's had powder on her face or something. Someone in the crowd was saying, "I also married a ginge." Harry, of course, is ginger, like his father, Hewitt, James Hewitt, who is Harry's father. I'm certain of that now. I mean, I was on the fence for it, but I'm pretty sure. Now, let's go back in time a little bit and talk about the marriage of William and Kate. Now, if you remember, I did cover that. I didn't do a live stream, but I did like videos from Sue Staines' house, and I was on the sherry. I was on the sherry today, actually, but I was actually drinking it live on the camera. And I've watched William and Kate tie the knot, and there were some women in the crowd holding up a banner saying, "Marry me, Harry, marry me." There were even some women today actually saying, "I want to marry Prince Harry." So, and that was the big question, wasn't it? Which woman ended up succeeding in hooking this man? The world's most eligible bachelor, as they called him, at least since William's wedding. And of course, it was Meghan Markle, who is actually no relation to Angela Merkel. Several people said, "Oh, is there a connection between Angela Merkel and Meghan Markle?" Not to my knowledge. They don't look like each other. I mean, she's very pretty, and Merkel looks like who she is, basically, a globalist whore. But Meghan, what happened was the first I heard about it was Harry proposed. And then the bride and groom to be they gave an exclusive BBC interview where Meghan proudly wears this engagement ring. Harry designed it himself. It's in white gold with a Botswana diamond. And apparently, the wedding ring she's wearing now has a diamond that used to be in Diana's ring, which is very interesting. That's I thought that was, again, you see, Kate is also Kate, when Kate got married, she wore her late mother-in-law's ring. Yeah, very, very interesting. Oh, now Tina's put another comment. I'll go to comments in a minute, but thanks, Tina. Yeah, Harry dropped to one leg when they were cooking dinner, because they do kick the royals. They cook their own dinners nowadays. It's very, very, that's very modern, isn't it? They cook their own food. They don't get servants to do it for them. And Meghan said yes, even before Harry finished speaking. Now, the palace then revealed that the wedding would take place in May. They didn't say what date. And as I said in the Dreaming Sources video I uploaded, I was a bit worried because I thought, if this clashes with Dreaming Sources, I'm going to have to change the date. I mean, I knew that no matter what I did, wherever I booked Dreaming Sources, it would clash with something. And indeed, it clashed with Megalithomania, which is a bummer, but it's unavoidable. There's only so many weekends in the year, and there's conferences, there's UFO Paracon conferences everywhere. So it's going to clash with something. I can compete with Megalithomania. I can compete with the Super Soldiers event that Miles was going to do. But I can't compete with Harry and Meghan. And I thought, I already deliberately avoided the FA Cup final. But I thought, Harry and Meghan are on that day. I'm going to have to change the date. And it's going to be difficult because I'm going to have to change the date because I've already booked a load of speakers. I'm going to have to change the date to one which all speakers can manage. So, and indeed, the people who bought, because several people have bought tickets too. So I'd have to change the date to where people who bought tickets can manage as well. Oh, so it was that. But I was very relieved when it turned out that Harry and Meghan were going to actually tie the knot on the day, the weekend after the 12th and 13th. So, as I said, it's the royal family are changing. It's no longer unacceptable for a prince of the realm to marry a divorcee. Charles married Camilla, after all. Camilla is now going to be princess consort eventually when Charles is king. So it doesn't matter that way anymore. But I'd say Meghan is unusual in other respects. She's American, although she has become a naturalized Briton. And she's been baptized into the Anglican Church. She's retaining her American passport. And there's a big fuss about her being mixed race. Now, this is an interesting issue because people say, well, it's unusual for her to be not white because all the royal family are all white. They're part of the white patriarchy. But actually, the royal family are not white. I mean, what I mean is they're not white like me. They look it, but they're not. In racial terms, actually, the royal family are completely apart from all other human beings on Earth. And I don't just mean the reptilian thing. I mean it's interesting. While we're on the subject of reptilians, before I forget, did you see a shapeshift? I was watching the Queen and Prince Philip very carefully, and I didn't see a shapeshift. But yeah, I mean, they are, even their human bodies are different racially to everyone else on Earth. They are set apart from everyone else. They present what resembles white European features, but they are not white European any more than Meghan is. Well, Meghan is actually more white than they are because the white side of her family is actually is white European. Now, Meghan's maternal ancestry, this is very interesting now because Meghan's maternal ancestry, as I said, is described as African American, where you can use other words like, I don't think there's anything wrong with saying black or even saying Negro. Martin Luther King used to call black people Negroes. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But it's obviously this has been done to appease the political left. Because they are bending to their critics in the Republican movement and things like that, and this has really disarmed the Republican movement totally. Having Meghan in the family, because you get Peter Tatchell, he was a colleague of mine on the People's Voice, but I mean I've got my differences with him, but he's one of the people who call the royal family racist because they're all white. Well, as I said, they're not white, but they appear to be. Most people believe that the royal family are white Europeans. So Meghan is, so in a sense, now there are a lot of people who used to, like I said, used to despise the idea of the monarchy, and now they're accepting it. They're just accepting it. House of David. That's right, Tina. Yeah, the you must have listened to the guy I had on her Panama Radio, Eddie Page. Yeah, it's actually worth watching listening to the latest Panama Radio show because I got this guy on called Eddie Page who talks about bloodlines, things like that. Meghan is also a dedicated leftist. She's outspoken, as where the royal family are generally apolitical. I mean, the most outspoken thing they normally do is work for charities like Diana and Princess Anne and things like that. But Meghan is an outspoken leftist. She's she's a feminist. And when she was a little kid, actually, she's just a little girl. There's actually an old vintage TV interview with her when she's just like a little kid. And there was this washing up liquid advert on TV, and for some reason she thought it was sexist, so she protested against it. She wrote to the TV company, and the TV company took it down. They got rid of it. Now, that's interesting because how often do TV companies, or the company that produced the washing up liquid, how often do they bend to little kids? Which indicates that Meghan was famous from a young age. She obviously became an actress. But it's almost like they knew she was going to be famous, even when she was a little kid, as if maybe a role was chosen for her. And she's now giving the royal family a very progressive image. both personally because she's mixed race and because of her beliefs. And so I noticed that there was no real major protest. I mean, I did check on the Republicans' YouTube channel, and there was just one video in the entire Republican side of YouTube about this video. They got this guy being interviewed by the BBC yesterday, talking about. I'll just find it because I'll post a link to you to it for you because you'll probably find it interesting. No, where is it? Oh well, it's Kevin Logan's. Oh yeah, here we are. Royal Wedding Countdown. Kevin's got this thing called "Fuck the Royal Wedding." I think he scared Rory Cat a little bit actually with that. I'll just post it in chat now because I'll have a watch of this if you get the chance. It's only a short video. Yeah, there was. So I mean, that was about it. That was the only fuss that the Republican movement kicked up, which is also unprecedented. There's just this one video from this guy who's the leader of Republic, this Republican organization in Britain. And no, I mean, in Australia, it's probably different because the thing about Australia and other places in the Commonwealth is there's a lot of Republican movements that are much more powerful within the Commonwealth because they regard the Queen as a foreign occupier, whereas for us British, she's the Queen, she's the Queen of England, But so can't speak for countries within the British Commonwealth right now, but I know within Britain, the Republican movement has been completely and utterly neutered by this. And I remember during the Diamond Jubilee, Peter Tatchell, him again, he led a protest. I remember on the side of the River Thames, and you can see the videos on YouTube, and he's doing his usual thing. And he's been completely silent. I don't know if he's been silent. I do follow him on Twitter. He's not actually said anything. I'll just have a look, actually, what old Tatchell's been saying. I mean, many things have made me turn against Peter Tatchell because for several reasons. Firstly, he attacked the Archbishop of Canterbury, who was the son of a hospital porter, which I didn't object to. Simply, right. But he's also said a few things about underage sex, which I find very, very disturbing, as Sonia Poulton has pointed out. Here we are. The royal wedding is escapist nonsense, a real-life soap opera for people who fantasize about fame, riches, status, and fairy tale romance. Good luck to Harry and Meghan Harry, but I'm not besotted by their nuptials. This wedding symbolizes privilege and an unequal UK. Oh, right. And he's at it at Billy Bragg. Oh, there's a couple more things he said here. I wish them well, but it's a private wedding. The public should not have to pick up the bill. Well, that's basically what the guy from Republic said. But basically, generally, he's been very quiet. Generally, they all have been very, very quiet. And Tina, thanks. Tina is commenting in Facebook. Sorry, so Tina, I'll just act like you're commenting. Can I act like you're commenting on in the Spurred chat? Okay. Oh, John's got. Bye, John. See you. Thanks, John Barry 79. Thanks for posting. Right. So let's carry on. Now, the palace actually put up an announcement. The palace, that is the Queen's mouthpiece, they put up the signboard at the front of Buckingham Palace announcing that the Windsors. This is another thing that's very interesting. The Windsors are paying for the wedding. And this is where a lot of people misunderstand the whole financing business. They're paying for the wedding. It's another way that they are sensitive to their public image. Now, of course, the Republicans will say things like, well, just because the Windsors are paying, it doesn't mean the public aren't paying. They're just paying indirectly because the Queen is on the civil list. Her money comes completely from the civil list. And therefore, the fact that they're paying, it still means the public are paying for it. It's going indirectly from the Queen's purse. However, it's rather than being funded directly through the Exchequer. So the public are just paying indirectly than directly. Well, that's not actually true. Firstly, the Queen is on the civil list, and I think she gets paid, was it $3 billion a year or something from the civil list to upkeep the monarchy. The monarchy costs something like $3 billion a year. And of course, monarchists will say that they'll argue with the Republicans, yes, but the royal family bring in revenue. The royal family are actually earning money for Britain. They're earning more than that for Britain. They're earning more than $3 billion a year in terms of things such as tourism and stuff like that. So that in a sense, the royal family are an industry, and it's true. But the truth of the matter is, the Queen Elizabeth II, or to give her her full name, Elizabeth Alexandra Mary Saxe-Coburg Mountbatten, Saxe-Coburg Gotha Mountbatten, to give her full name, is the richest woman, the richest person in the world, at least in terms of on public display. And her money doesn't just come from the civil list. Her money comes from many, many other places. She's the world's biggest landowner. And this is a big subject. But I mean, I talked on a previous live stream, I believe, about how she's the biggest landowner in the United States. And a lot of her property in the United States is bought up under a false name. For example, she owns the land on which Denver Airport is built. Yes, the Denver Airport, with all those weird murals with showing dead children, and the Masonic signs and the gargoyles and the underground base. She owns that land, and an American researcher called Alex Christopher discovered this, that the Queen is actually the real owner of Denver Airport. So every time you pass through there, part of your ticket fee goes to paying the rent, which goes to the Queen. She bought that land under a false name. It's very interesting that there's alleged to be a secret base underneath Denver Airport, and there's distinct evidence to suggest that's the case, which explains why they put that evil blue horse and things like that. They put these things in your face. So the Queen is actually much, much more than she appears to be. Now, I've been using a word I've been using through this live stream, you may have noticed, is the word chosen, in terms of Meghan being chosen for Harry. Now, I think it's highly unlikely that Harry decided to marry Meghan, despite the very sweet romantic story of their engagement. I suspect that it's not completely true. The royals do not marry who they want, they marry who they are told to. Even the Ben, the sinister element, which Harry is. Because, of course, he didn't get that ginger hair from Charles, did he? He didn't get it from Diana. Yeah, there is another guy, James Hewitt, of course, is the guy with ginger hair. It's not a secret. I mean, as I said, Charles and Diana's marriage was arranged. Other marriages have been arranged. This is not to say that Harry and Meghan have not sincerely fallen in love. I think they have. I mean, you can see the way they look at each other. It's very, very different to how you watch the recordings of Charles and Diana's wedding and see the difference. I mean, their faces are like statues the whole time. But Meghan and Harry, I think, are genuinely in love. And that is a lucky bonus. But it is never essential. It is never essential. And if they hadn't been, he'd still be told to marry her. Meghan's pedigree will have been thoroughly checked, just like Kate's was. And I talked about in my Kate Middleton video when I did a video about the last royal wedding. I did explain how Kate Middleton has is bloodline. She's not part of the Habsburgs, but she is. She does come from an elite bloodline. And there are many. This is a common misconception that while she's not a lord or lady or anything, no, she's got a. Kate's just like a commoner, she lives in she lives a kind of normal middle class lifestyle. Her husband, her father, I think he was an airline pilot or something. Look, he's got tattoos. He can't be posh. She's just a commoner. And this is true, but there are there are people within the aristocratic bloodlines or the semi-aristocratic bloodlines who don't have titles, and they generally live a kind of middle class lifestyle. And Kate was one of those people. Now, Meghan, it's interesting. I'm going to talk a bit about Meghan's background. Now, through her father, Thomas Markle. Right. Oh, Tina's just said Kate's mum's from the Rothschild line. Oh, right. That's interesting. Yeah. I mean, I did look into Kate's background, and she does have links to the elites, bloodline links to the elites, and they all do. So does Meghan. Both Meghan and Harry they're actually 18's cousins. They are actually 18th cousins. I mean, Kev Baker described them as kissing cousins in on his show, and he's quite right. Meghan and Harry both descend from the Bowes-Lyon family, which includes the the Earls of Strathmore and Kinghorn, the Glamis Castle lords. Now, in the case of Harry, it's direct. I mean, his great grandmother was the Queen Mother, who was Elizabeth Bowes-Lyon. This is an elite Scottish bloodline, and so in the cases he is direct. However, Meghan is also related to that bloodline, to the Earls of Strathmore and Kinghorn. Now, Meghan's mother, Doria Ragland, not much is known about her ancestry because, like many Black Americans, her ancestors were sadly slaves. And when you were captured as a slave, your past is basically erased. And this is quite, you have no paperwork at all, apart from the various paperwork connected to your ownership. Now, her earliest known maternal relative, this is Meghan's, is her great-great-great-grandfather, who was a slave on a plantation in Georgia. And there was a photograph of him. But it's possible, you know, when you consider the royal genealogists and what the information they have, not least because now the Human Genome Project has actually been achieved in public. The Human Genome Project, incidentally, was actually completed in secret. The secret government completed it in the 1960s. I was talking to Eddie Page about this on the last Panmo show. So there's no doubt at all that Meghan Markle's DNA has been traced. And it's possible, I wouldn't be surprised at all. I don't know, this is speculation, but I wouldn't be surprised at all if she comes down out of the African kings, such as the rulers of the Mashona Empire, because this would mean she'd be related to Robert Mugabe, to Nelson Mandela, and to Barack Obama. Now, these people all come from elite African bloodlines. There's they're called the Black Illuminati, which is partly untrue. But I mean, there are. So if you listen to, if you ever read books by Credo Mutwa, now Credo Mutwa is famous for his long interviews with David Icke, the Queen of Sheba. Yeah, that's right, Tina. Yeah, the Queen of Sheba is a very, very is said to be a mythological figure from Ethiopia, but I mean, I think it's quite possible she was real. She's kind of like the African King Arthur, I suppose. But there are elite bloodlines in Africa, which Credo Mutwa talks about. It's in his books. I went out and read a couple of his books, and these are books he wrote a long time ago. And I also read books. I showed you the book by Lyle Watson about all this, and it is real. It is there are primary citations related to this. It does seem to be a real thing. This legend, and they have the same mythology that the West does about shape-shifting reptilians. These are beings in human form, but that are not really human. And people such as Robert Mugabe, according to Credo Mutwa, is a direct descendant of the Mashona empress, which doesn't surprise me because he's a complete scumbag. Nelson Mandela is also a prince of the Thembu tribe of the Xhosa nation in South Africa. And Barack Obama is connected to a royal bloodline in Kenya. And I wouldn't be surprised if Meghan Markle is not descended from this same stream, the same bloodline. I don't know what part of Africa specifically, but wouldn't be surprised. Now, another thing about Meghan is she will be very carefully screened for hereditary diseases. So her genome, if there's any sort of tendency towards any particular disease, which is a problem for everyone. I mean, there's more and more evidence to suggest that many diseases now have a hereditary link, including many kinds of cancer and things like that. And this is all part of the Human Genome Project that's come out. But she'll be screened for those things. It's ironic, you know, that Meghan Markle is much more royal than Harry is. People talk about her marrying into the royal family, but I mean, she's more royal than he is, probably. I mean, when Harry went off to Afghanistan, I was actually concerned for his safety, because it would be the perfect way to get rid of him. Because if he really is Hewitt's son, which he probably is, you could always do away with him and then blame it on the Taliban while he's in Afghanistan. It's a perfect opportunity. Now, what will happen to Meghan? That's the question. What's the future going to be for Meghan and Prince Harry? Well, no doubt right now, I mean, she's been described as the most envied woman in the world. And she is being bitterly envied by many millions of women across the world. But I wonder if perhaps after experiencing life in the royal family from the inside, those feelings of envy might be reversed. And she may find herself envying every other woman in the world, which I suspect Kate Middleton is doing right now. I wish her luck. I really do. I hope she's all right, just like I hope Kate is all right. And what's interesting that's happened is this is just a few weeks ago. Kate Middleton, the Duchess of Cambridge, gave birth to a new child. This is her and Prince William's third child, because they have little four-year-old boy, Prince George, and little Princess Charlotte. She's almost 3. As you remember, I mean, it's interesting that these two things have happened so close together. Now, I don't know if Kate was actually. I didn't see Kate at the chapel. About whether Kate was actually there. She may be at home with the baby. I don't know. But if you remember at the time, I covered this in an article, certainly on Hapanmo Voice, whether or not it was actually whether I covered it on Hapanmo TV, but. Oh, she was there. Tina said she was there next to Camilla. All right. So one of the royal nannies was probably looking after the baby. It's there was something a bit odd. What was odd? I said at the time certainly when Prince George was born, she walked out the hospital with Prince William, and she was holding this baby in her arms. Now, I used to be a hospital porter, as you know. And for 9 years, I was actually in the maternity side of the hospital. I've seen mothers who've just had babies. And there's this thing to do, which is known as maternal bonding. And basically, they can't stop looking at the baby and kissing the baby and cuddling them. It's real. It's real, a really powerful falling in love experience. It's called maternal bonding. And now, when Kate walked out carrying Prince George, she was carrying the baby as if it was a doll. And as Tina's pointed out, she was wearing the same dress as Mia Farrow in Rosemary's Baby. Oh, right, yeah. Have you seen the film Rosemary's Baby? It's a very disturbing film. It's by Roman Polanski. It's a film made in the 70s by Roman Polanski. It's extremely disturbing. It's about Satanism and basically the birthing of crossbreed children with demons and things like that. It's an extremely frightening film, worth seeing. But keep the light on if you're going to watch it. Now, when Kate stepped out of the hospital with this new baby, she appeared to exhibit genuine maternal bonding with this child. That's the difference. She kept looking at the baby, she kept smiling like that, and they go always kissing the baby, like I said. Very, very different. Now, there's only 2 possibilities here, I think. I mean, when George was born. One is that she received some kind of coaching for her so that she wouldn't behave like that, which I think is pretty awful. It's a pretty awful way to treat a young mother. Or that was not her baby. And it's quite possible that was not her baby. And it's interesting that this is why I think this is what I mean by feelings of envy being reversed. Kate suffered from morning sickness and was taken into hospital, into St Mary's Hospital, where the nurses, it's interesting, in that hospital, the nurse's uniform includes a Masonic badge. I haven't looked at what the porters' uniforms are like, but they include a Masonic badge. But a nurse, the sister on the ward, where Kate was being looked after. Actually, there was a prank played apparently by some Australian journalists. They phoned up pretending to be the Queen, and the ward sister picked up the phone and had a conversation with these people. Now, the next morning she was found dead in her room in the staff accommodation. She was hanging by her neck. And apparently she was so upset by what had happened, which I think, and her name was Nurse Jacinta Saldana. And I and many other people said at the time, is this really a suicide? I mean, the Australian journalists, the TV presenters who did this were absolutely, obviously they were devastated by this, but really, are they really to blame for the death? I question that for several reasons. Firstly, as obviously I've known many nurses in my time, and they are extremely tough. They are extremely resilient, and they have to be nurses. The idea that some idiots phoning up the ward would somehow push her over the edge is completely false when you consider everything else she'd had to go through. She was an experienced nurse. She'd been a nurse for 15 years. She was also a mother herself with 2 children. I think she had 2 or 3 children. Which means to me, I suspect that the death of Nurse Jacinta Saldana was not a suicide. It was made to look like a suicide. And there are several reasons why they might have killed her. And I've done an entire video on this. It's called The Death of Nurse Jacinta Saldana. I'm going to have some wine, a little more wine. There are several reasons why they might have killed her. Firstly, she may have found out some information she shouldn't have, and she wasn't cleared for, about Kate, and perhaps the nature of Kate's pregnancy, or perhaps the lack of a pregnancy. Secondly, it may have been a sacrifice. It may have been an occult sacrifice by the Habsburg Illuminati bloodline for the new baby. The choice of the name George for Prince George is very, very interesting, because I predicted that. I said that it would be George. The reason I said it would be George, because I know that baby is very important to the continuation of the Windsor dynasty. He's a crucial, an absolutely crucial linchpin in the continuation of the bloodline. In fact, Tina, you predicted Louis. Oh, right, yeah, I'll come to that, Tina, because I'm getting comments from Tina on Facebook, even though she's not in chat. I'll come to the Spurg chat in a minute, all right, when I finish my notes. So thanks for all your comments, everyone. Now, the choice of George is very important. In fact, I predicted that the second baby was a girl. When it turned out it was a girl, I predicted Victoria. I put a bet on. I lost it. I predicted Victoria because that is another name that's very important to the Habsburgs. And indeed, the Habsburg dynasty covers most of the royal bloodlines of Europe. Not just the throne of England, but also the defunct ones of Germany and Russia, which ended in the early 20th century. It's actually about 100 years ago. It's 100 years ago in a couple of months when the entire Russian royal family were wiped out. They were shot in the basement of a house by the Bolsheviks. The German royal family, of course, also collapsed after the Great War and the Weimar Republic and Hitler. Now, so I thought Victoria. I thought the girl would be Victoria. Now, I put a bet on Edward. I got 16-1 at William Hill for Edward, for the new baby that's just emerged. And I lost. I lost again. It was actually Louis, and Tina said she predicted Louis. Yeah. Now, the choice of Louis, I'll come to that in a minute. But anyway, I'll come to the Louis thing in a minute. But what's interesting is, I suggested Edward because Edward is also an important name for a Habsburg monarch. And, of course, the baby's great-great-great-uncle is called Edward, as I've explained. Now, what was interesting was I suspect that Louis, the new baby, may be Kate's first natural child. I think it may be the first child in which she's not only carried the baby herself, and it's not been grown in an artificial womb, and the technology does exist to do that. Yeah, Brave New World style, yeah. Aldous Huxley knew a few things, I'll tell you, back then. That's why that book is... read the book Brave New World by Aldous Huxley. It's a book written in 1930. It's way ahead of its time. And Huxley was the teacher of George Orwell. So if you want to read 2 books which predict the future, read Huxley's Brave New World and Orwell's 1984. But I suspect that not only was Kate actually pregnant, was genuinely pregnant, where with the other 2, she seemed to be wearing a fake pregnancy prosthesis. But she's also the biological mother of this child. I think they've allowed her to be the biological mother of this child, the new baby, for the first time. Right, so I put a bet on Edward and I lost, and the actual name of the child, as Tina predicted, was Prince Louis. Tina, did you put a bet on? I don't know. I think they were offering. I don't know how much they were offering. She did. Oh, well done, Tina. So you won. I lost a tenner on that. Louis is the title of the person who has the right to open the pyramid in ancient times using a Lewis lift. All right. Title used by French. Oh, you got 20 to 1. Well done. I got 16 to 1 for Edward, and I lost it. But anyway, right. Well, so the baby was named Prince Louis Arthur Charles, and Louis is pronounced Louis, which is pronounced the French way, Louis, not Louis. And apparently he was named after the Queen's cousin, who was Lord Louis Mountbatten. Now, Lord Mountbatten was the last viceroy and the first governor general of India before India left the Commonwealth. He was when India became independent, but then left the Commonwealth. Now, in 1979, Lord Mountbatten was assassinated. He was on a boat trip off the coast of Ireland, and a remote-controlled bomb was placed in the boat, and it exploded. And someone dragged him to someone dived in and tried to save him, but he was dead by the time they got him to shore. Now, the IRA claimed responsibility for that, and Jerry Adams to this day still says, "Yeah, we killed him. We killed Lord Louis Mountbatten." But firstly, Jerry Adams is a Freemason, and he's a member of several other organisations. There's other reasons to doubt that, because the modus operandi and there's several reasons politically why Mountbatten was murdered by British intelligence. So that's interesting. It's interesting that they chose the name Louis for a man who was killed in an assassination. Now, Louis is also the name of the last monarch of France. This is King Louis XVI, and he was dethroned during the French Revolution, very famously in 1789 after the storming of the Bastille and all that sort of thing. And in 1792, he was killed. He was publicly beheaded in Paris a few months after being officially dethroned. Now, he was part of the Bourbon dynasty, which is related to the Habsburgs through the Rothschilds. And Tina's just explained how Kate is a Rothschild. And I recommend this book here. Bloodlines of the Illuminati by Fritz Springmeier. Do read that book if you can. It's very, very interesting. So Louis is a name. It's an elite bloodline. Now, so this is a very worrying situation, I would say. We have two royal members of the royal family, the elite bloodlines with the name Louis, have both met violent ends within the space of 3 centuries. So you would think that would make the name Louis taboo. But they call the new baby Louis. I mean, is this an indication that the royal plans for Prince Louis's future are not favourable? I wonder. Now, this is interesting. There's been a lot of newspaper stories about Meghan's family. Samantha, who's Meghan's half-sister, invited to the royal wedding, was involved in a car crash. Just a coincidence, nothing to worry about, as David Icke would say. She's a 53-year-old woman, much older than Meghan. Meghan's 36. She slammed claims that the palace was giving financial help to her dad, Thomas Markle. Meghan Markle found love with Prince Harry. Her estranged half-sister has repeatedly spoken out and caused trouble with her comments about the royal couple. So, mum of 3, Samantha Markle, also known as Samantha Grant, a former actress and model, lived in Florida, USA. Who is also the daughter of Thomas Markle, but from Markle's previous marriage. He knew about Thomas Markle, the father, knew about Meghan's royal romance for as long as 5 months before the news came out, and has become bankrupt after being a successful lighting director in the American movie industry. So there's a lot of connection with show business with these people. Both Meghan and her half sister are actresses and models, and the father works also in the movie industry, as he works in the lighting business of lighting. So he's like a technician, an engineer of some sort, like a backstage guy. They were 17 years apart, never raised in the same house. That's in terms of their age difference. Meghan was raised as an only child by loving parents. And then Samantha Markle has this car crash. She's broken her ankle and fractured her knee. And she was driving with her partner near their home in Florida and smashed into a concrete barrier. And her partner, Mark, told the media that he'd been behind the wheel and was apparently trying to avoid a photographer who had veered in front of them to take pictures. It's slightly reminiscent of the official story of the Diana disaster, which is a complete lie. He swerved the vehicle, smashed into the central reservation, and the photographer fled the scene. In a white Fiat Uno, no doubt. Samantha's foot was reportedly twisted backwards. Oh dear, so massive. So it's a nasty compound fracture there. Mark, and apparently, even when she hasn't broken her leg, Samantha Markle is crippled. She uses a wheelchair, and she was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis in 2008. Oh dear, that's nasty. My mum had multiple sclerosis. It's very, very unpleasant. It's basically where it's an autoimmune system situation where your body's immune system attacks the nervous system, and it leads to terrible pain, paralysis, numbness, and disability. You know, becoming infirm. It's very, very sad when people have MS. So Meghan Markle confirms her father won't attend the royal wedding. Who is Meghan Markle's dad, Thomas, and why isn't he going to the royal wedding? The Markle family were thrust into the spotlight as a result of Meghan's royal wedding to Prince Harry. Well, I think it seems they were used to the spotlights anyway. Thomas W. Markle Sr., who's the father of a woman about to marry the sixth in line to the British throne. He's of Dutch-Irish origin, born in 1945. But hang on a minute. Oh, that's strange because he may well come from those places, but he is descended also from, as I explained earlier, from the Bowes-Lyon family. So that's a Scottish bloodline. He's a former lighting director, worked on Married with Children and General Hospital. These are American comedy series. He's won a daytime Emmy for outstanding lighting. Right, yeah. Married Meghan's mother, Doria Ragland, in 1979, divorced in 1987. So it's odd that he's not there. Apparently, here we go. He's been struck down by a heart problem, pulled out the ceremony, too ill to make the trip. He admitted he was paid to pose for stage paparazzi pictures. Yeah. He then said he did want to attend the wedding, but admitted his doctors might not let him travel due to recent health scares. It's so well, that's Meghan says, "Happy Father's Day, Daddy. I'm still your buckaroo, and this day your hugs are still the best in the whole wide world." Oh. So well, that's all the interesting stuff. That's a very interesting sort of thing here. Yeah, he must have had dandruff. They found it. His head and shoulders on the beach. Oh, very good, Tina. Talking about old Mountbatten, Battenberg, in other words. Yeah, Mountbatten is simply an anglicised form of Battenberg, which is obviously a lovely cake. It's a lovely marzipan sponge cake, which I very much like, but it's also the official name of Prince Philip's bloodline. His family. Right. Let me go through your let me answer a few comments here. I'm going to have to get rid of a few trolls, of course, as always. But, yeah, here we go. Right. Droik. Right, yeah. So, here we go. It only goes up so far. And I want top chat. I go to all chat. Here we go. Right, I'll just go back a bit further because I've only on top chat. But thanks for I appreciate your comments. Okay. All messages visible. Okay. Well, obviously not all of them are, because there's a few that I think have gone over the. The new baby would be Louis, says it's got to be. Hi, it's got to be. Because of the Mountbatten. Louis Mountbatten, yeah, that's right. Louis would have been an explosive name. Neptune returns. Ben keeps drinking but never goes for a piss. Well, I'm not going to do that on camera, am I? Cosmic Claire, hi Claire, how are you? Did the wedding happen today? So Claire, you've not been watching it. A lot of people are saying, I'm free of the royal wedding. I'm not going to watch it at all. Yeah. Louis to retake the French throne, says DJ B2. Hi, DJ. Well, funny if there's a monarchist, there is actually a monarchist movement in France now, which is very interesting. And I mean, considering the mess they made of their republic, I can understand that. See, the grass is always greener on the other side, isn't it? There's the people are saying, well, the Republicans in Britain are saying, well, if only we get rid of the monarchy, everything will be great. In France, are saying, if only we restore the monarchy, everything will be great. Well, Britain, we did get rid of our monarchy in Britain once. We took King Charles the second. They cut his head off with an axe. In France, of course, they cut loads of people's heads off with the guillotine. They used the guillotine to behead King Louis, and they killed about 1 million other people during the Terror, which is always the way. It's always the way. You see, it's that there's a good documentary called Heaven on Earth, which I do recommend watching, which talks about the dangers of utopianism. Now, Vestal, and we are. We're still subject to evil landlords. We are. And it doesn't matter if we abolish the monarchy, you see, because in the United States, the same bloodlines are still in control. The presidents and people like that, they have the elite bloodlines, and there's the Rockefellers and the Kennedys and stuff like that. They're all connected. Vestel 1, hi Vestel. I actually thought Ben was joking when he said he'd do a live stream talking about this shit. Royal wedding, boring. All right, Vestel, well, I've explained to you why I've done this live stream. Sorry you don't find it very interesting. I think it's very interesting, and I think it is actually. France is better than England now. Well, in some ways. I mean, wine's cheaper, but it's got a lot of problems, France. And France could have turned the corner a few months ago. Instead, when they could have let in Marine Le Pen, as I explained in my video about the French election. It's called Au revoir la France. Goodbye France. But they instead chose to give it to that bloody gimp, didn't they? What's his name? Emmanuel Macron, that little globalist gimp. He's horrible. He's disgusting. He's like Justin Trudeau. I swear those two are clones, physically and in terms of their policies. The marriage is fake, says Diego Rivera Velasquez. Yes, Diego Rivera. In fact, it's fake in the sense that it's arranged, but it doesn't mean they're not really in love. Not evil beyond legal. Hi, Fouquet. Yeah, France is fucked up. Yes, it is. I mean, I do hope that they have another election. Luckily, they only have France. They have elections in France every 4 years instead of 5 years like we do in Britain. But I do hope they do the sensible thing next time and bring in an anti-globalist. And Tina says they didn't marry using their correct names. Tina, I think it's Rachel Megan. Megan is actually a second name. I remember when the vicar actually introduced them, they called him Henry. It's not Harry. Harry is short for Henry, of course, but they called Henry and Rachel Megan. Megan is a middle name. She's chosen to use a middle name. I think Rachel is a nicer name than Megan, but Ben, you are boring, says Vestal. Yes, Vestal, but you're watching. You're like the two guys in the private box in the Muppet Show. Why do we always come here? I guess we'll never go. It's really kind of torture to have to watch the show. And then all they do is complain. Those two old guys in the private box at the Muppet Show. They just sit there. They watch every single show, but they just sit there complaining about it. It's boring royal shit, says Neptune Returns. Trump is a Freemason, says Diego Rivera. Well, it's I'm not going to go into the Trump thing now. That's too big. Off with their heads. I said that to Kevin Logan. I says, off with your head. Iman Peduima. Iman, how you doing? Puadama, hello. 1984 and Brave New World were predictive, but I don't know of the novels that predicted the hoaxed events and manipulated media narratives which accompany them. Well, there are a few, actually. There are a few interesting books which you can read. There's one called the Turner Diaries. It's by someone called Andrew MacDonald. His real name is William Pierce. Well, they don't predict false flag events, but they do predict certain things, such as the Oklahoma City bombing was supposedly inspired by this book called the Turner Diaries, where it's about a group of terrorists, and they blow up the FBI headquarters in a famous scene with a fuel fertilizer bomb. That's it. There's several others I could mention that I've read. I don't. Well, there are actually. There's one called. There's several actually very interesting ones. I can't think of any right now. Alert is masculine, la is feminine. That's right, but Fouquet, yes. That's French, yeah. Hugo Rune. Hello, Hugo. How are you? English is a Germanic language, not British. They love their German queen. Yeah, that's true. I mean, we talked about that before, about the origins of the English language and the culture and everything like that. But English, there's a lot of interesting things to do with English. I mean, English is such an interesting language. But I can talk that. I can't go into that right now. The marriage was fake. Yeah, okay. Yeah, it is. Well, maybe they are genuinely in love. I hope so. Harry's a gimp. Harry is, in a sense, Harry's been allowed to live. Now, the way the royals get rid of their Ben Sinister normally, because he's Hewitt's son, is they would arrange some kind of accident for him or some kind of illness. They haven't done that, so he's been allowed to live. The fact that he's reached the grand old age of 33 and he's not had any accidents or injuries indicates they'll let him live out his life, on the public purse. He can live the high life and things like that. They've decided to just keep him going. Fouquet said, I'm off to smoke a fag. Well, you don't smoke in the house, Fouquet. That's very nice. That's very good of you. Presumably they don't let you. Craig MK3. Hi, Craig. Was a warning for all the shit she's published on Meghan. Oh. Yeah, Philip is a Nazi. That's right. Prince Philip was educated at a top Nazi school. That's right. Philip is dead, says Craig. Well, he certainly looks it. He looks like he's embalmed alive, quite frankly. He looks awful. I mean, I actually I published this picture on social media. You may be able to see it if you follow me, where I show there's a picture of let me just see if I can find it. Hang on. Tina, they need fresh blood. So they don't get that's right, they need fresh blood so they don't get the madness of King George. Yeah. I put this this image up. Right, yeah, it's I got a picture of Carrie Fisher, David Bowie, Michael Jackson, George Michael and Keith Chegwin on one side, and it says, think how much longer we could have lived. All we needed to do was be evil. On the other side, I've got a picture of David Rockefeller, Prince Philip, Robert Mugabe, Henry Kissinger, and George Soros. And it says underneath, what we tried to tell you. Oh, you got to laugh. If I didn't laugh, I'd cry. The royal family rarely have real marriages. That's right, says Diego. Yeah, you're absolutely right. It's all arranged. And what they do is but I think these two are genuinely in love, in which case I'm pleased. I'm very happy for them. Craig says, I was slightly envious of the amazingly beautiful setting, the food, and the ultra chic champagne. Yeah, I mean, it's a good. Yeah, I mean, in terms of material possessions, you couldn't get better. But the cage is a gilded one. The cage may be gilded, but they're well and truly behind bars. And Meghan is now finding that out. I feel sorry for her. Meghan Markle is in for the shock of her life. And she'll probably be shown, if she even thinks about saying anything, she'll probably be shown a secret CCTV image of what really happened to Diana in the tunnel and saying, any questions, Meghan? They'll say, no, just how silent can I be? Where are we? Here we go. Boreda Luke Adui, says Luke Bright. Boreda. There's some Welsh here. There's some people in Welsh here. Sylwth neighbour in Cynlluniau ar gyfer... BD is something to do with the world. I can't. My Welsh is not that good. It's a bit rusty. Sorry, Hugo. Where am I? I think I've lost my place. Oh, Bap. Gary Pierre, are you Belfast Bap by any chance? Mountbatten was a paedophile. Cucumber sandwiches. Hey, Rab. Hello, Ben. Charles II was the one that restored the monarchy. Okay, man. So it's Charles I. Sorry, I got those two mixed up. He was the one who. Yeah. Okay. That's right. We restored the monarchy in Britain. Restore Bigfoot to the crown, says Diego Rivera. Yeah. Twisted Mickey just keeps saying fag over and over again. I don't know why that is. And I've lost my... It keeps slipping away, the old chat. I think it was when people put in a new thing. Oh, yeah. Okay. Eman says, is there much difference between PM presidents and monarchs? They all seem to come from bloodlines. That's true. Tabubella, not fag. That's some things. Princess Beatrice asked for... Okay. Welsh is beautiful. My Cymraeg yn hardd. Yn wir, Phuket, yn wir. Why don't you discuss the Diana letter and recording, the big secret? Diego Rivera, I've discussed it many times because the Diana, is this about the various secret the times her phone was hacked? And there's also the letters she wrote to Paul Burrell, her butler. Very, very interesting. Now, Eman, about the hoaxed events. Now, about you want to know about hoaxed events? A dystopian novel about hoaxed events, making it clear that they're hoaxed events. I don't know of any. I can't think of one right now. I mean, if there's one, I know there's many films based on that. I mean, things such as there's films such as V for Vendetta, which I very much recommend. Road trip to Portmeirion. Stopped in village for tea. Two nice old ladies straight out of the 1950s, says Phuket. Portmeirion, did they go be seen? Yeah. Portmeirion is where they filmed The Prisoner. I do recommend that. Craig says, historically, the royal bloodline is plagued by tetragenous deformity caused by incest. Yeah, I mean, Craig, there's a lot of this inbreeding they do. The fact that they're keeping themselves racially pure has a dark side, and that is various hereditary diseases. I mean, the little Prince Alexei, he was the last member of the Habsburg branch in Russia, the son of Tsar Nicholas II. If he hadn't been shot, he was shot almost 100 years ago in the cellar in that place, in that house. If he hadn't been, he would not have lived much longer. He would have not lived past his early 20s because he had haemophilia, very bad haemophilia. And when Rasputin died, there was no one to actually heal him. Eman says the final jihad and the Turner diaries are more like pieces of mockery. I'm not sure. I'm not sure I'd pass the chance to live in that gilded cage. Better than a shitty cage. Well, maybe, but Craig, I prefer no cage at all. Who's but Burke 001? I give you 190 euros. Is that okay for your? Who are you talking to? Craig says I could live as part of the problem if I was a part of it. I too would look down upon you all if I could. Deputy Megan did a great water sports DVD. All right. I did see Megan in that. She was in. It was LA Law. She was in. Phuket. Need to go on a Welsh immersion. Yeah, I would. If I went back there, I probably would be. Hugo Rune says it also in Welsh. Nifer heb and sylwi I cais am dominantiaid. No one will notice you bid for global domination. Oh, bid iang, yes. That's right. No one will notice your bid for global domination. Thanks for translating that, Hugo. Diolch yn fawr. Now, Brazil. Iman Pedwima says Brazil is a good one. Is that there's a film called Brazil, which is very good. It's not in Brazil, set in Brazil. It's like a dystopian novel of the future. There was something else. Is that all? Hang on. It sent potentially inappropriate messages for review. What does that mean? Hang on. Great movie. Because some people like hang on, I've got a message here. It's on a different video. Boring twat. Oh, shut up. So for some, I've lost all the. It seems like the trolls have gone. I think they've removed themselves, which is good. E-Man says a good film about fake terrorism. Right. Well, as I say, V for Vendetta, I very much recommend. V for Vendetta is yeah, and Brazil, says Hugo. Brazil is excellent. I'm at the end of the comments. All right. So it's fewer comments than last time. That's okay. That's cool. But it looks like a lot of the I may have missed some of them at the top because if I don't watch them after a while, they just disappear. But the trolls have gone. Oh, you got to press the button. You got to press the button. A film of Rick Mel. Oh, right. It's got to be 2. That's right. That is 1 by 1. That is excellent. 1 by 1. It's Rick Mel's last film. It's an independent film, actually. Low budget. And it's quite an unusual film to get Rick Mel for that. But it's actually about conspiratorial ideas. Very, very, very obviously inspired by real art people like us. And in fact, there's a character in that film, I'm sure is Jam Noise. Is based directly on Jam Noise 72. Tina just says, oh, right, here we go. G.K. Chesterton, The Name, Who Was Thursday. I've not heard of that one, Tina. But the best film is 3 Days of the Condor. Is that about false flag terrorism? Right, 3 Days of the Condor. Right, yeah, let's look it up. Oh, I've seen this one. Yes, directed by Sidney Pollack. I think yes, this is yeah, this is very good. That's yeah, I've seen that. I remember that well. I can't really go into it in detail, but yeah, it's about secret FBI inside the FBI. Yes, I remember that now. It's like a conspiratorial thriller. It's a 1970s one, very old. I wonder if he discovered too much while working on the film. Well, I do think about Craig. I mean, he was ill. Rick Mel had a very bad head injury a few years earlier. But I mean, I do wonder about his death, about how he died just soon after that. It's really quite something. Neptune says, "You love the Royals, admit it." Now, I love talking about them. Hugo Rune says, "Wales, an Anglo-Saxon original word for Wales. It means alien and foreign." Oh, that's true because the Welsh word for themselves is Cymru. Cymru or Cymraeg is the Welsh language, or Cymraeg is Welsh as an adjective. Cymru is the name with a Y at the end is the name of the people, and Cymru with a U at the end is the name, which is pronounced the same in Welsh, is the name of the country. Craig says, "Do you see QAnon's comments about the 710 plane crash?" Yeah, I haven't read all that in detail, but yeah. Wag the Dog. Oh, well done, E-Man. Yeah, that's a good example. Wag the Dog. About the film about media hoaxes. Yes, please do watch that film, Wag the Dog. It's excellent. It actually, the actual director of that and the screenwriter actually admit they were inspired by David Icke when that film Wag the Dog. Brilliant. Are the Royals alien? Says Ben, asked Diego Rivera. Yes. I should start following. I do follow QAnon, Craig. I'll keep up with this stuff on 4chan. There's a couple of fake ones going around on Twitter. Fake QAnons, I think. But I do follow him on 4chan. And I need to catch up actually on him because I've been very busy lately with Dreaming Sources and stuff like that. Sidney Pollack played Ziegler in Eyes Wide Shut. Yes, he did. That's right. He was in Eyes Wide Shut, Stanley Kubrick's last film, playing the insider. The guy Ziegler means Mason. All right, means Mason. Oh, cool. That's right. That's a very interesting film. Which again, Stanley Kubrick died just about a week after that film was released, and the film was put on to general release. It was not. There were no. Hey, Jam Noise. Oh, we've just been talking about you, Jam Noise 74. We did talk about that. And Jam Noise 74 was actually on my show. Big love for Soul Sister. Thank you, Soul Sister. Jam Noise 72 was actually a guest on her Panama show, and we talked about the film one by one, which is excellent. And I'm sure one of the characters is based on her. They've chosen an actress who looks very similar to Jam Noise, and actually talks very much like her and says similar things to her. Diego Rivera says, Ben, I've just decoded Rug 237 and solved it. Well, do tell, Diego. Do tell. Let us know what you think. I mean, I'm not going to continue with the live stream for much longer, actually. But do tell us. Do tell us what it means. Go to your channel. Okay. It's not to do with the moon, is it? It's 200. It's the average distance to the moon from the Earth. Because this actually came up at Dreaming Sources, a message hold for review. Okay. I just showed a message. It says show or hide. I just pressed show. It was like it went into the spam folder. Yeah. Phuket says, I took some shots of Queen opening the GMX 93. The Scottish art teacher told me to fuck off. Oh, right. The woman in the bath. Oh, yeah, the succubus. Yes. What does it mean, Diego? Oh, I'll look at your channel. All right, I'll look at your channel. Who has anti? Does Diego have anti-Ben videos? I mean, I've got there's so many people making videos about how awful I am, or saying other things about how awful I am. Pinot Noir. No, it's Chilean Merlot. Just cheap stuff from Co-op. Now, but I'm interested in the whole Stanley Kubrick thing. I mean, this came up at Dreaming Sources. I haven't actually uploaded the video yet, but I mean, Marcus Allen did. We were talking about this, and it came up in the Q&A, in the question and answer session after Dreaming Sources, or after the speakers had finished. I do not think. Oh, here we go. Jam Noise says, "You are not awful, Soul Brother. Fuck those people who say that." Thank you. Thank you, Soul Sister. I'm glad you think so. A lot of other people do. I'm glad so many people do, but unfortunately, some very loud, noisy people over the last couple of years have been saying horrible things about me. I mean, I can't say I blocked them all. So the Apollo T-shirt, that's right, was a jumper, Craig. But yeah, this is Apollo 11 on there. The little boy was wearing this Apollo thing. But I don't think Kubrick was actually behind this. We love you, Ben. Love you too, Phuket. Love speaks louder than hate. It does, Jam Noise. That's true. But I mean, well, I don't want to spoil it for you. We do go into this in the actual video that's upcoming, which I hope to upload in a shorter time as possible. But Stanley Kubrick, I think, may have inadvertently they may have used some of the things he did, but no way was he actually involved in this. I don't think he would. I don't think he did. What's interesting, his daughter, Vivian Kubrick, actually recently addressed this last year when these films came out. Some very strange films came out about Stanley Kubrick. And she said, no, there's no way. She completely dismissed it. But she didn't say that the moon landings were real. She didn't say it was crazy to think the moon landings were fake. She just said that her dad had nothing to do with it. Diego, I've also exposed Picasso as a member of the Illuminati. This is exposed in the film Eyes Wide Shut. All right, well, I can't actually access your channel from here, Diego Rivera, but I'll check it out. I've asked for some FOI, bro. Check on my latest videos. Right. Oh, right, I will, Jam Noise. Sonat Selite said, I saw a picture of Harry saluting the royal family, including Lord Jacob Rothschild, who's waving in a strange way. Simon Tucker, I don't agree with you on everything, and I do like the royal family, but I still love your videos and still think you're a top bloke. Thanks, Simon. Craig says, Eyes Wide Shut was definitely a statement. Yes, it was. Neptune, Kubrick's Carry On films are great. Stanley Kubrick directed. He didn't direct the Carry On films. Hi, Grim Wriggler. Jacob Rothschild controls most of the world's economy. Oh, that's interesting. Yeah. All right, guys. I'm going to call it, knock it on the head now. All right, guys. Oh, Obviously, this video recording will be there for you to watch. All right. And I want to thank everybody who's watched, and I want to thank everybody who's posted in the comments box. Night, Tina. Thanks for tuning in. But I do hope, with the chemtrail-free skyjacking, one thing about the royal wedding is they just don't have chemtrails on the day. But you may have noticed that it's terrible chemtrailing over the southern England for the last couple of days. Love you too, Jam Noise. Thank you. Night, Julian. Night, Gary. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for watching, and thanks for posting. Okay, take care. Night, Paul. Night. And peace to you as well. See you, Hugo. See you, Jackie. Thank you. And on Mani Padme Hum, says Foodcat. You guys are great. Thanks very much. It wouldn't be the same if you weren't posting in the chat box. It really wouldn't. So for everyone who's joined, see you, Claire. See ya. Night, Son Zalite. For everyone who posts in the Spurg chat, thank you very much. And for people who comment on the videos too. Now, I will be actually, I will make another comments reply video. For your comments will be answered in the comments reply videos. Okay, so it may be a few weeks. End stream. Okay.